In 2022, we celebrate 130 years of HBCU football. On December 27th, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the 2022 season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag HBCU130. Now, here's your host, Donal Ware.
You've got it locked to the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Monday, November 14th. I'm Donal Ware. It's Manic Monday here on the podcast, and we're through week 11. We had a couple of championship games that we're going to talk about, a couple of regular season games deciding divisional championships as well. So let's run through the scoreboard. Jackson State defeated Alabama A&M 27-13. Jackson State starting quarterback Shedeur Sanders injured in the ball game. Florida A&M got past Alabama State 21-14. So for the Rattlers, that's 8 straight victories, one of the hottest teams in HBCU football. And the Rattlers are looking for that FCS berth in the playoffs. Obviously not an automatic berth, but an at-large berth in the playoffs. And so Florida A&M is playing some really good football, going to end the regular season next week in that Big Florida Classic against Bethune-Cookman. Speaking of Bethune-Cookman, fell to Alcorn State 17-14. Southern defeated Mississippi Valley State 27-7. It was Texas Southern all over Grambling 41-7. Prairie View A&M defeated Arkansas Pine Bluff 55-24. I don't believe Prairie View A&M has not wrapped up the Western Division as of yet. A win next week for the Panthers, and the Panthers would have wrapped up the Western Division in the SWAC for the second straight year. North Carolina Central punches its ticket to the Celebration Bowl, wins the MEAC championship emphatically 48-14 over Norfolk State. North Carolina Central is really on a roll, playing some really good football. Davius Richard responsible for another 5 touchdowns. I mean, this guy is in the running. I mean, I think if you were to say, okay, who's the MVP in HBCU football through week 11, it would, to me, it's Shedeur Sanders, of course, of Jackson State. But Davius Richard is right there. He's right there. I mean, his touchdown responsibility, because he's going to throw for a bunch of touchdowns, but he's going to run for a bunch of touchdowns as well. So his touchdown responsibility is going to be very, very high. And it's why North Carolina Central's 8-2 on the season. Howard got back to the win column 28-14 over South Carolina State. Boy, South Carolina State, you talk about a season as the defending HBCU champions coming into the next season. And I mean, saying that the season didn't go according to plan is an understatement for South Carolina State, because I mean, you can have a really good season. You can look at, let's look at South Carolina State, that 09 season. It was either 08 or 09 season, really good season, comes back the next year, doesn't have as many players. Well, basically everybody came back. Maybe some injuries. They didn't get good play in a lot of positions, however, meaning the Bulldogs. And this has led to a surprising 3-7 record. I mean, I thought everybody would be better in the MEAC this year, and I think everybody was better in the MEAC with the exception, I don't know how much better South Carolina State could have gotten, but I never saw South Carolina State with one win going into the last game of the season in MEAC play. Speaking of getting better, Morgan State defeated Delaware State 37-7. The Bears getting better, one more game. Not going to have a winning record overall, but could have a winning record in the MEAC. It was North Carolina A&T defeating Charleston Southern 20-10. The Aggies make it 7 victories in a row. Next week, going to play for the Big South Championship on the road in Boiling Springs, North Carolina, against Gardner-Webb. Hampton falling to Elon 38-24. It's been tough sledding for Hampton, who at one time was 4-1 on the season, has lost its last 5 ball games. Tennessee State, remember, Tennessee State had won 3 in a row at one time, 2-0 in OVC play, has dropped its last 3, not scoring any points. That's the thing about Tennessee State. The Tigers aren't scoring any points. Fell to UT Martin 20-3. In the CIAA championship game, Fayetteville State defeated Shawan 31-28. A field goal with no time on the clock propelled the Broncos to victory. And so for the Broncos, remember, this was the 5th straight games to the 5th straight time to the CIAA championship game. Finally got over the hump with the victory. Lincoln of Missouri finishes the season 0-11, fell to Missouri Western 41-0. West Virginia State, the Yellow Jackets in the season on the right foot, beating Charleston of West Virginia 42-35. It was in the SIAC in the matchup between Edward Waters and Allen. Edward Waters defeated Allen 38-12. Virginia University of Lynchburg goes 0-4, or at least right now, 0-4 for the season, falling to the Citadel 66-0. It was Langston falling to Southwestern Assemblies of God 39-21. So Langston has dropped 4 straight games. I believe it's 4 straight, but at least maybe 4 out of the last 5 at the minimum. And what started out as a promising season for the Lions has definitely gone downhill. In the SIAC championship game, Benedict left no doubt, defeated Tuskegee 58-21. So congratulations to Chennis Berry, the head coach, and the Tigers for winning the championship. Second year on the field, last year 5-5, first year on the field. Remember, had the COVID year, even though he was in the program, and now 11-0 on this season. That is absolutely outstanding. And Benedict passed every test. Fort Valley State, Savannah State, Albany State, and, of course, Tuskegee in the championship game. So now to kind of transition, Benedict now number 1 in the Super Region 2 for the NCAA Division II playoffs. Going to have a bye next week, meaning on the 19th, going to play Thanksgiving Saturday in the first round. And listen, Benedict definitely getting it done. But let's go through this Super Regional, because we talked about this last week. So I thought if Tuskegee, it's interesting because I felt like Fort Valley State in the last ranking was 7. I felt like Fort Valley State was on the bubble and depended upon what some other teams did. I thought if Tuskegee defeated Benedict, then Tuskegee probably would climb into that number 7 spot, and Fort Valley State would be out. Benedict, even with the loss, would still be in, right? But this is interesting because Fayetteville State was not in the rankings. Okay, last week they ranked the top 10. Fayetteville State was not in the top 10 ranking, beat Shawan. Now Fayetteville State takes the number 7 seed. And Virginia Union still is able to stay in the rankings, which is correct. 9-1, Virginia Union. Congratulations. Probably should have been, I shouldn't say probably, could have been in the CIAA championship game, but Shawan earned that win against Virginia Union, but it didn't hurt Virginia Union too much. And check this out. Virginia Union gets to host a game. Virginia Union gets to host a game. I'm looking to see right here. The Panthers, they'll host Wingate. Okay, so that's going to be that'll be a tough matchup, but they get to host. And so we'll see what happens from that game. And then the winner of that game gets to take on Benedict. So it's a good day for the CIAA. That's for sure. The last time the CIAA had two teams in the regional was 2017, when Virginia State and Bowie State made it to the regional. So it's a good day for the CIAA. Not so much for the SIAC. I mean, if it's probably right to have Fayetteville State. If you had to pick between one, I would have loved to have both Fayetteville State and Fort Valley State in. But I think if you had to pick between one, you would have to go with Fayetteville State. 2 losses, 1 more win in a conference championship game. And remember, I was talking about this a couple of weeks ago. This is where a conference championship game can help you if you win. Sometimes they don't hurt you as much if you lose them. But this is a clear indication. Fayetteville State was not even ranked in the last region in the top 10. Okay? As a matter of fact, Tuskegee was number 10. Tuskegee loses, it's out. But Fayetteville State wins its championship game. It jumps all the way up to number 7, and a place, or the last seed, but a place in the Division II playoffs. So congratulations to Richard Hayes, the head coach there. He's done a tremendous job at Fayetteville State. It was a time that I didn't even know, I shouldn't say think, but I didn't know that he would even get a head coaching job. He had been an assistant for so many years, and finally got his opportunity, and is doing a really, really good job as the head coach at Fayetteville State. Has the CIAA championship on the 5th try, and goes to the Division II playoffs. Remember, there are no automatic bids, so all of these are at-large berths. And I think when you look at Fayetteville State from top to bottom, honestly, the Southern Division wasn't great this year. But you look at the win against Shawan. Was it Fayetteville State? I think the other win in the Northern Division, I think, was against Virginia State, if I'm not mistaken. So, those are 2 quality wins, and beating Shawan twice, as a matter of fact, despite the Southern Division not being great. So congratulations to Richard Hayes and the Fayetteville State Broncos. That's going to wrap it up for today's HBCU Football Daily Podcast, where you can find us on our website, box2row.com, also at iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcast, as well as watching us on the Box to Row YouTube page. Talk with you tomorrow.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at box2row.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on Box to Row with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU, Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Box to Row for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.